Hey, welcome to Strength Side. Today we're talking about nutrition, and we're going to talk about if your diet or your nutrition reflects the goals that you have for your body. Okay, so sometimes in the fitness industry, people give nutritional advice, diet advice, without giving context to what exactly they're talking about. And this leads to people taking things out of context and to people kind of forming ideas about nutrition without really having the whole story behind it. Okay, so we're going to try to clear some of that up today so you can have a better idea of how to base your own nutrition around your goals, and also to have a conversation with somebody else who maybe you're trying to help, or maybe you just want to have a little back and forth discussion with. Okay, so nutrition 101, we're going to take a look at body composition. Okay, now body composition is just going to be what your body is made up of. Okay, so specifically we're going to talk about fat and muscle. Right? Health. Now health is going to come down to how healthy are you in the sense of some of your biomarkers. Okay, so like, do you have good cholesterol? What is your blood pressure at? Things like that. And then we're going to come to performance. Okay, now when we're looking at performance, we're just looking at, are you able to perform at an optimal level when it comes to your sporting event or your training session or whatever it may be that you're doing for activity. Okay, so let's dive into body composition a little bit more here. All right, so these are our three categories. We're going to look at each one independently of each other. Okay, so we're just looking at it in this narrow scope here of body comp. So for most people, they either want to lose weight or gain weight, and more specifically, they usually want to lose fat or gain muscle. Okay, not many people want to put on fat, right? So when we're looking at manipulating body weight in some way, what it comes down to is the quantity of what you're eating. Okay, your body has an energy balance, and if you eat more than the energy that it's expending, then you'll gain weight. And if you eat less, then you'll lose weight. Okay, it's that simple. And when it comes to quantity, which I'm going to write down here, what we're really talking about is calories, right? So how much calories are you consuming, right? And does that reflect your goal? Okay, so if your goal is to put on muscle, but you're only eating 1,800 calories a day, that might not, reflect your goal very well. Okay, so calories, and then a little bit more specifically, macronutrients, right? What are these calories made up of? So you got your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fat. Okay, so when it comes to body composition, if you're talking about gaining muscle, losing weight, really just enhancing what your physique looks like aesthetically, then we always want to take a look at quantity and see how many calories a day we're eating, week, month, over the course of however long you're doing this diet to achieve that goal. Okay, so let's move on to health. Now health is going to be, like I mentioned before, your biomarkers. And now all that means is things like cholesterol and blood pressure. Okay, how healthy are you when it comes down to kind of like getting your blood work done? Okay, so once again, we're looking at this independently because one thing that will influence that a lot is probably losing some fat, right? But right now we're going to leave that over here. We're going to look just right here. And another thing that's going to contribute a lot to health is just feeling. Okay, so a lot of people end up starting a nutrition plan or an exercise plan just because they simply want to feel better, right? There isn't always a super external goal. This is more of a subjective thing. But if you know what feeling better comes from, then we can more help that person get to their goal. Okay. So now, if you're like a young adult, if you're a kid, then you might not care about these things too much. But what you got to understand is that a lot of people do care about these things. Okay. And especially as you age, these are things that need to not worry about, but pay attention to, right? You got to be aware of these things. So when it comes down to health, we're going to look a little bit more at quality, okay? So what is the quality of the nutrition that we are consuming, right? So are we consuming things that are more of a whole food nature, probably less of this processed things that we kind of inherently know aren't as good for us and that don't have quite as much nutrients in them. And when I say nutrients, I'm talking micronutrients, okay? So let's go ahead and write that down. Micro. Now, what are micronutrients? All right, micronutes. Just because I think that sounds cool. So what are micronutrients? This is just vitamins and minerals, basically, okay? And we all need the appropriate levels of vitamins and minerals to stay healthy, right? So when it comes to health, now we're going to look a little bit more about the quality of what we're eating, and we're going to make sure that we're getting these vitamins and minerals that we need to feel better and to make our body healthier, okay? Now the third category is performance, right? Now, performance is definitely probably going to encompass a lot of body comp and health, right? Because if you're undernourished and you're eating potato chips every day, then you're probably not going to perform very well. But just for this example, we're going to forget about those things, and we're going to look at optimal what performance basically is optimal output. So this just means when it comes time to compete, are you ready to go, right? Are you at your optimal levels to do that competition, okay? So what we can take a little bit more of a look at in performance is nutrient timing, okay? So are you putting the nutrients in your body at the times that would best correlate with you performing well, okay? So nutrient time. So this just simply means, hey, if I have a game right now and I haven't eaten in the last 10 hours, then I probably am not going to be able to perform optimally. So we have to pay attention to when we're eating, right? Now, the other thing we're going to take a look at in performance is supplements, okay? Now, we can dive a little bit more into supplements here because supplements may come into play when you are trying to optimally perform, right? So maybe we're going to take a little bit of creatine. Maybe we're going to do some caffeine to promote a little bit more energy for optimal performance, right? Maybe we're an endurance athlete and we're going to supplement with some type of, electrolytes and hydration supplements, right? So in performance, we're looking at these things to kind of drive optimal output and optimal performance, okay? So now that we have these three categories, like I mentioned before, we have to understand that this is a spectrum here, okay? Like most of the time, you are not going to fall completely into one of these things, right? You have to be aware of all three of these things, okay? And, usually, mostly these two, right? So an example of this is you could say like a bodybuilder or a physique athlete getting ready for a show is probably going to fall more into this body composition category here. And they're going to put a bulk of their effort right here. And these things might slide to the back, right? And that's okay because that is their goal for that specific time. Now, same thing with someone who is just, maybe overweight and out of shape and is in trouble because maybe their cholesterol is really high. Now they might just put a bulk of their effort into, trying to improve those health markers, okay? But I think that the point here is that the best diets are going to take all three of these into account, okay? So the best diets are going to be concerned with the quantity of what you're eating because, you have to stay at a healthy body weight range, right? You have to promote muscle mass on your body to be as healthy as you can, right? Now, health, we have to pay attention to the quality of our food, because if we don't, then we're going to be missing important micronutrients that drive us to be healthy individuals, right? So if we're only concerned with quantity and we're eating, preserved foods all day, processed junk, then we're going to be missing out on these micronutrients, and at some point we're going to suffer because of that, okay? And now if you are being a healthy individual and you're doing some type of exercise, which I'm guessing that you are if you're watching this video, then we got to pay a little bit of attention to this optimal output here, right? Because we want to be able to perform at our best when we step in the gym or when we go out for a run or whatever it is that you're doing, okay? So now if you're a professional or a college athlete, then you're gonna be a little bit more concerned with this performance here, because that's the most important thing in your life, right? But for most of us, it's just a small aspect of it, so it's only given a smaller percentage, okay? So I want this to shed light on some things like, okay, let's say for instance, you're trying to get your mom to get in better shape, and you give her, let me take that back. Your mom wants to get in shape and she wants to feel better, right? And then you tell her that she needs to count her calories and do flexible dieting, count her macros, right? Well, that probably isn't going to match up with her goals quite as well as something else might, okay? And now the same thing goes with somebody who really wants to lose weight and maybe wants to do some type of physique competition, and you tell them to just eat good foods and maybe do paleo or something, right? Well, that's not going to meet up with their goals very well, okay? Because we know a better way to get there, all right? But once again, the best diets, the best nutrition plans take all three of these into account, and the nutrition will reflect that, okay? All right, guys, so hopefully this clears up nutrition a little bit for you. This can give some context to what you're talking about. Hopefully you can have a conversation with someone, and if maybe they have a little bit different ideas than you do, you can see where they're coming from, because maybe their goals are a little bit different than yours and they fall a little bit more to one of these categories of the spectrum, okay? If you like this video, let us know. We could do more of these kind of whiteboard talks, and we can dive a little bit deeper into nutrition at some point. All right, guys, see you in the next video.